Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nate the Hoof Guy. And as you've seen by the title, this is a bit of a different trim. You can see we've got a big chunk of this heel that's pulled away. This isn't your normal white line defect. Let's get started on this, see what we got. Get a better look at it here. Obviously, something is cut deeply into that heel bulb. At this point, I don't know what that was, but you can see it's not just into the heel bulb like you'd see with a normal white line. This is actually up higher above that hairline. So we got to kind of get this looked at a little bit and see if this is something I can handle or if I'm going to have to refer this to a vet. As with all our trims, first thing we're going to do here is get this all shaped up and balanced, and then we'll address the obvious problem with this one. Now, there is a little mark in this white line, so I dished that out, make sure that wasn't a problem. And we're obviously going to need to put a block on that other claw, so we're going to get that done right now. Now that we've got that in place, we can attack what is obviously the main issue here, and that's this heel bulb. Now, one of the questions I get all the time is there ever a situation in which you need to call a vet to handle or to finish a trim that you're working on? There's only a couple of times when I would do that. Number one is if we have infection that's traveling up the leg. In that case, I'm going to need a vet there to make sure that we don't have anything more serious in the claw, but also to be able to prescribe any antibiotics or any other type of drug treatment to try to take care of that problem, whether that be any NSAIDs or anything like that. The other thing I'm going to do is if there's any type of surgical work that needs to be done, if there's stitch work or anything like that that might need to be done, that is going to be handled by a vet as well. In this case, at this point, I don't know what we got here. I'm just going to work on this as if it's a hoof trim. I'm going to handle the parts that I can as far as cleaning the hoof areas away and debriding this area and seeing what it looks like. At that point, then, that's when I would make that determination if we need to have a vet work on this further or if they need to prescribe anything, etc. That's when I would address that. If it's localized, in this case, it's very close. I mean, we're right on the edges. You can see here that heel bulb I was able to trim that away. There's not a lot of damage much higher than that. So I'm going to get this really cleaned up and see what it looks like. From there, because this did go a little bit higher than the hoof, it's obviously going to get brought to the attention of the herdsman. And from there, he can decide whether or not, this is going to need to be treated or looked at again by a vet. But in this case, as far as we've got right now, it looks like it's going to be localized. We don't have any redness or any heat traveling up the leg, meaning it should be localized to this area. So I'm going to get it all cleaned up, and we'll see what it looks like at the end, and then we'll go from there. Don't go away, though, because once I get this done, we're actually going to bring her back for the 2-week follow-up so you can see what that looks like, see what our work has accomplished. You can see there's an awful lot of gunk trapped up underneath that. It's an obvious problem here. So my next step is to really clean this area thoroughly and try to determine how high this is going to go and what it looks like underneath. Now, a question you might have is, how did this happen? And honestly, I have no clue. The first thing you have to do when you find something like this is to walk the pens and determine if there's an obvious glaring problem that could have done that. So that's what I did. I walked around the entire area where this animal would have traveled, and I didn't find anything out of the ordinary. Everything seemed to look good. Obviously, something did happen here, but there was nothing that I could find that would lead me to it. Another thing that would point to this as being some type of strange accident is that there was no other heifers in this pen. There's 600 of them in this barn. There was no other ones that exhibited anything like this. So my guess is that she got pushed down by another cow, another heifer, and that her foot got caught somewhere where it normally would never be. And when she tried to pull her foot out, that's when this happened. That's the only explanation I can come up with. Everything else looked just like it should be in that barn. So we're going to get this foot wrapped up. We're going to treat it as if it's just some dermatitis in there with some salicylic acid. We've cleaned that really well with chlorhexidine. We're going to bring her back in a couple weeks and see what it looks like. Now, as we let her go, she sniffs and checks out her new wrap and block, making sure everything's good. She realizes that foot doesn't hurt anymore, so she's off. Now, let's fast forward 2 weeks, take a look, and see what it looks like now. And here we are at that 2-week recheck. Now, I can't take full credit for what this looks like because the farmer did actually give her some antibiotics to help treat this as well. But you can see here, we've got new horn growth all the way up near the top. This heel bulb is filling in quite nicely. Obviously, there is still an area of openness here that we got to clean up, but I think we can all agree this is a drastic improvement. Another thorough wash down with chlorhexidine and another salicylic acid wrap, and we'll let her go. A couple more weeks from now, we will check her one more time, and my guess is this will all be filled in at that point. Any long-term damage? I don't think so. The way it looks, that heel bulb is already starting to fill in. The rest of that hoof will fill in around it as it continues to grow. The corium underneath looks as if it must be quite healthy because within 2 weeks, it's all filled in already. So I expect this to be a full recovery in no time. But as I said, let's get this wrapped up and we'll move on. The block is still positioned quite nicely. There's no wear on that, so that can stay in place. Don't need to replace that. Get this foot wrapped up, and she will be on her way. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and we will see you all on the next one.